Well, welcome to our weekly Lenten devotions. As you may know, we've been covering the Ten Commandments, Joel and I, for Lenten devotions this year. In previous weeks, we've discussed the first 7 commandments. This week, I'll be focusing on the 8th commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. In his explanation of this commandment in his small catechism, Luther says this commandment means we're to fear and love God so that we do not betray, slander, or lie about our neighbor, but defend him, speak well of him, and explain his actions in the kindest way. There has been a tendency in the United States to pick and choose which commandments to follow and to apply to our lives. And while there's generally wide acceptance that we need to keep the 5th commandment, you shall not kill, at least in its most rudimentary sense, it's a little less so perhaps for the 3rd commandment, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, and it seems like it's even less these days regarding the 8th. You know, it's almost hard to know where to begin to address the 8th commandment. But perhaps the best place is to begin with the obvious. It seems we've reached a place in our society where it has become increasingly difficult to know what is true, at least from where I sit. That's a direct result of our setting aside of the 8th commandment. When we slander, or when half-truths or outright lies are perpetuated in the mainstream media and social media, and by you and me, it becomes very difficult to begin to discern fact from fiction. We live in a world where political parties have become more interested in loyalty and winning, and our media sources more interested in view counts and sales than in disseminating the truth. And we, for our part, eagerly seemingly gobble it up and share it. Upset about the distortions of the truth that we see in those who do not agree with us, and not wanting constant arguments, it's not surprising that we simply retreat into an echo chamber of listening only to those who agree with us. I suspect that you see this going on in our world also. And like me, chances are you don't like it, but really don't know how to change it. And of course, naming a problem is not the same as solving it. This problem seems so big, so pervasive, it's hard to know where to start. But I find it interesting that while the 8th commandment is about our public life together, and in that sense is about all of us, it is directed to each of us as individuals. You shall not bear false witness. God's answer to this problem begins with you and with me. As followers of Jesus, you and I are entrusted with the responsibility for caring for the honor and for the reputation of each other. You and I are entrusted with the responsibility of using our words carefully, especially when it comes to what we have to say about others. My father used to say, if you don't have something good to say about someone, don't say nothing at all. And that's sage advice, as far as it goes. But this commandment ups the ante. Because properly understood, this commandment is not only about not saying something bad or half true or repeating unfounded rumors and gossip, but rather, as Luther explains in his large catechism, we should use our tongue to speak only the best about all people, to cover the sins and infirmities of our neighbors, and to justify their actions, and to cloak and veil them with our own honor. Luther's understanding here squares with Paul's discussion that the followers of Jesus are parts of Christ's body, as he talks about in 1 Corinthians 12, where he says, the members of the body that seem to be weaker and are indispensable, and those members of the body that we think are less honorable, we clothe with greater honor. And our less respectable members we treat with greater respect. Luther also makes clear that this does not mean that we're to accept bad behavior or pretend it didn't happen, but rather we're to follow Jesus' instructions in Matthew 18, where first you go and talk privately to the person who's committed an offense. And if they don't listen, well, then go with 2 witnesses. And if they still don't listen, share it in a formal community setting. Jesus makes clear that the purpose of all this is genuine love and concern for the person who's doing the offending. And gossip never has that as its intent or goal. I got to admit that as I've spent time reviewing the implication and the depth of these commandments for our Lenten devotions, I've been reminded again and again of just how hard these commandments are to live in their fullest sense. I've also been reminded of and given a vision for the kind of world God intended for you and for me. It's a world where we care for each other, protect each other, and defend each other. It's a world where the truth matters, and because it does, it can be more easily known. May God forgive us and help us to do our part to live as God intended. May God bless you in your Lenten journey.
Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me. This is what I pray. Search me, oh God, know my heart today. Try me, oh Saviour, know my thoughts, I pray. Take all my will, my passion, self, fill